Hello, welcome back. Last time I finished up the roleplay level, and it's time to move on to the final one, which is Split Personality. All about player doubles of those four types. This is the largest level in the hold in terms of room count, so this may very well be another two-parter. Everyone should make a copy of yourself, more than one place at a time. Just don't get in each other's way. For some reason I was very determined to make a level that was set in a swamp, but I wasn't happy with normal swamp aesthetics, so I kind of chose this. I have the reflection in the water turned on, and weather is tweaked a little bit. This is the only screen where it's not actually raining in here. So yeah, I just kind of had to mess with the weather and lighting effects and clouds and things until I got a satisfactory looking swamp, because for some reason I just didn't like the way the default one looked. So yeah, this level is very much about puzzles that are kind of just in the middle of hallways. The rooms are reasonably compact. Let's do the mimic section first. It was the first player double that existed. Let's do it first. This is almost like a room, but a lot of them take place in just tiny little spaces. So, this room. This room is about pushing mirrors without stepping into the space you're pushing from. So all of these pressure plates need to be held down so I can kill the brain. But this is structured in such a way that there's no way you can use your stick to get that thing on the pressure plate without doing this. And then you're just stuck there. You gotta do 4 of them. So this involves some trickery. There are actually 2 different ways to do this, I discovered. I'll do it the way that I do it. There's a slightly trickier way that I've seen a lot of people do instead. It's kind of cool. I'll try and demonstrate for at least one of these mirrors. So yeah, I can pre-position them there, then use a mimic with a stick to stand there, and so if I just try to push, then he steps on the force arrow. However, using some trickery, this showed up in Frozen Wood in the Second Sky, I believe. I can input a bump move. That was with a dagger, though, instead of a stick. I can input a bump move with B-throw bumping against a surface here, and the mimic will actually push the mirror without stepping into its space. So that's way number 1, the way that I normally do the room. There is another tricky way to do this. Let me see if I can... I'm actually not sure I've ever done this before. If I set this up just right, I can... Let's see, let's get our orientations like that. That was almost what I needed. I would need kind of the opposite of that. If I can get this. So in this situation, there's a mimic's stick that's blocking B-throw's movement, but B-throw's stick is still on the mirror, so I can input a bump move like that. So that's the trickier way to do it, but it does totally work, and it seems like that's the way that a lot of people discover first. But this is easier, because you can just do that real quick, and then, whoops, then the mimic is the one to kill the brain. Somehow, someday. There we go. Why did I make those trapdoors? I'm not sure why I made those trapdoors. I don't know what the point of that was. I guess it was to prevent mimic placement farther inside so he could just kill the brain early. Yep, that was it. So here's the smallest room in the whole level. I really like this one. Somebody told me it reminded them of mini mimicry, which was one of the things that inspired me to play that hold. So the action here is to figure out how to use the roach as a ratchet to get both the roach and the mimic over to... Oh, I see, right, that gets rid of the force arrows. Get the roach and the mimic over to these 2 pressure plates at the same time, then they die with the fire traps. There are several different ways to do this dance with the roach. Let's see, I usually do it like this. So I make a diagonal move, the mimic bumps against the roach and moves north, but his stick still stuns and moves it like that. Now let's see, I need to wait here, do this. That's the dance. And I'm gaining eastward movement. Each time I do this complicated shuffle, I get one more turn, one more tile of distance. So yeah, there are a bunch of different ways to do this dance, but this is how I like to do it. And there we go. Roach is in, Mimic's in, room is done. So next up is here. So I tried to... Each wing, the Mimic wing, the oh right, this map is off-center because I haven't visited all the rooms. It made it look like this is the entrance room, and they look kind of similar. So there's a Mimic wing, a Clone wing, Decoy wing, and Time Clone wing. I tried to do 4 rooms for each. It didn't fit exactly. I actually had more trouble coming up with Mimic puzzles than any of the others. So this particular wing has only 3 rooms in it. I think it's the Decoy wing that has 5. That must be right. Anyway, so this is just a room about various types of multi-push. How a Mimic can help Bithro by pushing him around, or vice versa. So I think, let's see, what's the setup for that? Something like this. That pressure plate opens this, which is necessary to get through. I need that pressure plate to open this. And this also releases Briar. I need the Mimic, and I need the Bithro. So neither can be standing on this at the end of the turn when the Briar grows. That closes me in here. My way back out is with this orb, so I gotta do all the rest of the stuff in this room before then. Also gives me a convenient Mimic obstacle here to set up a push like this. The reason this works is if I would just go in there normally, the Golem would get stuck against that surface, but by multi-pushing Bithro, I can immediately be moving from a square north of him to a square that's south of him without being in the same row as him for a turn. So he steps on that, he dies. Next part of the room. Here in this part of the room, I have some regrets. What happens here is if both of these plates, if an even number of these plates is pressed, that explodes. So it always has to be an odd number, which is just 1 because there's only 2 plates. One thing that, a problem that came up in here relatively late, and I didn't really have time to change it, I think, is that makes it a little bit hard to experiment and see what's going wrong with your approach, because the Ontlik, the Mimic, the Ontlik and the Mimic both blow up. Now I don't want this. Well, I definitely don't want that, but I also don't want the Ontlik to wake up. Anyway, yeah, so I wish I had made it somehow so that everything didn't get destroyed on a wrong move. So here's the setup. Bithro's going to swing his stick over here and push the Ontlik to this spot. An Ontlik beam in the middle of a push does not actually crack an orb. I need this this orb to actually go off. Yeah, so that's another nuance of multi-push. I haven't actually seen that in a hold before. I'm sure it exists. But yeah, I just sort of figured it out myself in the editor. I could do another multi-push here if I wanted. Can't see what's going on! But the Ontlik ended up there. Bithro ended up here. Anyway. So Ontlik is there. That happened. I have access to another Mimic potion. Now this is a little bit unfortunate in that I have to think about move order. And that's the wrong order. What I need to do now... keep the orientation as it is. I need to set up a multi-push where... without, like, getting killed by this bomb and stuff. I need to set up a multi-push where this Mimic, number 1, steps onto this fire trap. That Mimic, number 2... pushes him forward, and Bithro is in the wrong place for this. So you guys need to go down this way a little bit, and then like that, sure. Okay, so what that does is Mimic number 1 steps here, Mimic number 2 pushes him over here, his stick hits the orb, then he falls in the water. And the room is done. It's kind of a weird room, but I think it turned out okay. And that's the Mimic wing done. Maybe I can get through all this at once. Alright, let's go in element introduction order. Decoys next. This is one of the simplest rooms in the hold. I actually have, if I go to the title screen here, I can watch a demo. This room is one that I chose to include a demo for. You can just set these demos in the editor. Another room was this simple room in blank canvas. And I think I had a third one, or was it just those two? It was just those two. Anyway, so title screen demo room. Very, very simple, ultimately. There's a couple of ways to do this, actually, I discovered. What happens in the title screen demo, guard has to be standing there for me to access those potions. Gotta kill those, kill that, kill that, kill that, and the room's done. So holding that lets the goblin out, holding that lets the evil eyes out. You can see me if I do this. So sure, let's do the evil eyes first. I want to face probably this way. So what happens here is a decoy can hold down a pressure plate. The guard is going to... Okay, I have not done that right at all. What's the orientation I want for this? I don't actually remember. Maybe this one? That feels right. Yeah, so I wake up these eyes, stand on the door right as the guard kills the decoy. So basically the decoys there are a time-limited commodity. They will disappear because the guard's going to kill them reasonably quickly. So I have to sort of race. I need a specific B-throw orientation for going into that chamber. For this one, I don't really, because I just have to get a goblin out. So what I can do is position my sword facing this way, so that the guard will have to go around the decoy and take a little bit more time. That one extra turn to let the goblin get out. This would depend on turn order. Guards might be one of those monsters that always has to move before others, so it might be impossible to make a guard with a later turn order than a goblin. I don't know that. Some monsters are like that, and I think guards might be one of them. Anyway, room's done. Guard kills Evil Eye. Guard kills himself. And that's it. So very simple. Right, and the other way to do that is to like place this decoy here and have him just out of range of the guard, so you can take all the time you want to do your business over here, basically. Just a slightly different way of doing it. So this room. This room looks complicated, but it's actually relatively straightforward sequence of events. This is one where I kind of sort of had a grain of an idea, but I just put down a bunch of elements, messed around with it until it felt like a decent room, and called it good enough. This one doesn't really have a very strong unifying theme. So I'm in a race at the very beginning. This will open those, that closes those. So I want the Omplic to beam this orb. And of course light this bomb too, so this rattlesnake can die. So he has to survive. An Omplic, or sorry, a decoy on a hot tile will die before he has a chance to attract any monsters. I learned this in Elemental Showcase 5.0. On a fire trap, however, since fire traps fire end of turn, he survives long enough for that Omplic to look that way. Then if I put one on the other side and have the Omplic face to the north, a lot of stuff happens here at once. This is kind of just... I wish I hadn't put so much to parse here. But anyway, Omplic looks like that, destroys that orb for me, and now I can get him to safety. On this trapdoor gate, which looks kind of like a hot tile, but is not a hot tile. So, try to go kill this rattlesnake, I'll just get stuck there. Same kind of deal for that, and then the Omplic dies, so we don't want that. So what I want is to step here. I want to use this orb and use this orb, but not use that orb. So what you do is, pretty simple, have the Omplic crack that one, and block the others from that happening. This decoy here is set up to reflect that beam once that's opened when I kill this rattlesnake. There is a Wraithwing friend there, looking at a decoy. I retrieve him by dropping that bridge. And he can hold the Omplic in place while I'm doing my business up here. So Omplic stays there, doesn't walk up here as I kill this rattlesnake. And now that decoy is available to stop him from beaming me as I'm over here. So that rattlesnake dies. Now I just have to turn the Ontlik up here. Still needed the Wraithwing for that, because he would step north instead of staying there and turning otherwise. And room's done. So this one's actually very straightforward, despite appearances. There's not that much to it, really. Oh, you need to not be looking at that anymore. So that's that. Now in this room... no, there are only 4 decoy rooms. I guess it's the Time Clone Wing that has 5. Right. This room has 4 monsters, and 4 decoys, and 8 pressure plates. So one of each thing needs to stand on each pressure plate, so that I can get in there with the water skipper to kill it. I can't kill the water skipper with a stick. I can't kill the water skipper with a decoy because they have a stick, and I get no say in that. This fuse... This mechanism is just here to make sure you wait there. It has to do with construct reanimation, to make sure you can't just park a construct corpse on a place like this and then get in here real quick. You'll see how that plays out in a moment. So, what I need to do is have monsters stalled in the appropriate places in each of these arrangements so that they will stand on the pressure plates or dance around on them in cases like this. Kind of have to know what an Ontlik and a construct will do with a decoy for this to make sense, which I guess you would discover by experimentation. So, 2 of these decoys stand on pressure plates, the other 2 stand right next to them. The roach goes in this position. I messed it up terribly. Let's do that better. The roach goes in this position like this. Still messed it up. I need to reorient. That'll do. Alright, that's Roach. Gel Baby. Yeah, I can do the Gel Baby now. There's a little bit of an ordering to this. Let's see, one of these can disrupt the other if I get too close to it somehow. I don't remember what that is. There's something I can mess up if I do these in the wrong order. Like the Gel Baby's too close to... Oh, I remember what it is. If I put this decoy here, facing southwest instead of here facing northeast, the Gel Baby is too close to this passage and will scrape off on B-throw instead. So it has to be in this orientation. So that's where the Gel Baby goes. Now, Ontlik and Construct are interesting. The way this works is that when one of those is looking at a decoy, since they have sidestepping behavior, they'll actually sort of go back and forth. It was important that I put this decoy's stick facing north, because right now this Ontlik would prefer to sidestep to the north, but he won't because there's a stick in the way, so it'll go south instead. Similar thing for the Construct, but it doesn't matter here. I couldn't... There wasn't anything I could do to enforce which tile beside these pressure plates you put the decoy in. So I couldn't make it so that you had to like have the stick facing north in one place and then east in another, because that would just be the same thing twice, basically. So I just have it diagonally apart this way and this other way. So yeah, the stick facing doesn't matter as long as it's not covering one of these pressure plates here. So with that set up, all those are either held or being toggled. I can get in here, take care of the water skipper, and that's done. Kill things to clean up. Construct is the noisiest one, and it's also the one you have to kill last because he revives, so that's slightly annoying, but it's fine. Alright. Convenience tunnels just for getting around faster. So, final decoy room. This room has kind of like 2 main parts to it. The music stopped. Let's try that again. This room kind of has 2 separate parts to it. Well, 3 separate parts, sort of. And I regret that a little bit. It's not very unified, if you get what I mean. 2 different solutions. Either kill the Guitar Mother before turn 30 or after. The way of killing her before turn 30 was one that I found in testing, that someone else found in testing and showed me. Let's do that one first. I might have been too slow already. Oh wait, yeah, that's the wrong weapon. Let's face this way. So quick kill works like this. I get a spear, put it here. I get a caber, put it here, and then do a double push like this, so that the caber decoy pushes the spear decoy stabs the tar mother, or stabs the tar. Pressure plate releases, turns on fire traps, they take care of the rest. And I don't have to worry about this mechanism up here, which would just close my door if a tar baby ever spawned. Yeah. Right, you could blow this up. That would make tar babies if this blob is... Well, yeah, that would make tar babies here and here. And even if you would kill a tar baby with it, it wouldn't reopen this door, so blowing up that bomb is not useful. I'll show you how this part of the room plays out when I do it the other way. So the other part of the room, this is the one that I found more interesting. This is inspired by something I saw in Elemental Showcase 5.0. What I thought the solution was to Lucky Luck's Lord of Time Fires of Pompeii room. You had to get a mud baby out of a very similar arrangement to this. I thought, I tried all sorts of weird stuff. It was a time clone room. I was trying all sorts of crazy stuff. At one point I had a situation where there was a weapon over top of a pit, and I wanted to push the mud baby against it and have it just stunned in place there. I found out that if it's a stick, mud baby will actually still just fall in the pit. However, with a caber, that works the way I wanted it to. So the way you have to do this is, if I step on this myself, the evil eye wakes up and can never be killed. So if I step here, with my spear facing this way, I step there to stun it for just a single turn. The caber acts basically as a wall and stops that from killing me. So that exact sequence is what lets the mud baby step there, not wake up the evil eye dies to briars, and then that happens. So I really like that mechanism. I wanted to put it in a room here somehow. This room kept breaking. This was one of those rooms in the hold that I had to redo many times to get it to actually enforce the mechanism properly, because people kept finding other ways to do this section than with that exact caber trick. Yeah, this room doesn't have any breaks that I know about in its current revision. This wasn't one that stayed broken after publishing. I hope. Anyway, so the other way to do it, the way I originally intended. Actually, the way I originally intended. There was a dagger token here. You had to use a dagger to block a tar baby from spawning there, which actually is turned out to be considered a game bug. So I was requested to change this room to not rely on that bug, which is fine. So this just takes a different format of... Let's see, you have to face that way. I just need to get this decoy into place right here, which is pretty simple to do. So he blocks the tar baby from spawning. And then, since I used a decoy on that, I can't do the push from here. So I just have to go around the spiral myself to kill it like this. Then the rest of the room plays out the same. Again, I do slightly regret having like two completely disconnected halves to this room. It doesn't really add anything to it. I guess really this mechanism right here could have been a fine room on its own. I could have split these apart into two separate rooms. There's no reason I had to pack that much into a single room. But that's what I ended up doing. Anyway, so I'm proud of that little mechanism there. I got my, what I thought was a solution to another puzzle to actually be the solution to this one. And I thought that was pretty cool. Okay, so this is going to be a bit shorter, but I did two branches of that. I should have chosen a different two, because these two are going to take longer on their own. So why don't I do this? Just to balance things out. I'll do one clone room real quick. We'll do the rest of the clone section and the time clone section next time. So, clone room. A criticism I got for this room, which is completely valid, is that it's actually a lot harder than the other clone rooms. So, like, difficulty curve mid-level isn't really a thing. Anyway, so what's going on here is I have one clone potion. I can place it wherever. If I step into this column ever, seeding beacon gets activated, right, room can't be solved. So, I have to avoid ever having an active clone in that column. So I can do stuff like give this clone a sword, and push him around with my other one to kill the evil eyes like that. And that's cool. I do need to have 2 sticks here because there's some trickery to this. I could try pushing you in there and racing those briars. Briars will reclose that. Racing those briars to these 2 pressure plates, which will stop them, but I will not win that race. So this involves, I'm just kind of playing around and wondering if there's a way to multi-push myself with a clone. Turns out there totally is. So this specific dance lets me do, okay, not that, if I set this up in a different position, how will I do that? How about here? This'll do. So if I set this up just right, one step, basically this allows these 2 collectively to move at 1.5 tiles per turn. So I step there, my stick pushes him, then his stick pushes me. I step here, my stick pushes him, his stick pushes me. So this guy moved 1 tile, this guy moved 2 tiles. This guy moved 1 tile, this guy moved 2 tiles. I didn't set this up right. I'm in the wrong orientation. Okay, that's fine. So we just need to do it like, oh, whoa, quiet, please. Need to do it like like how? Like no, not like that. What do I want? This, maybe? That looks right. If I just do this... Sure. No. How about this? There we go. And switching to a clone doesn't take a turn, so he was inactive at the end of that last turn when the Wubba decided where to move. So this is fine. And there we go. That's how you win that Briar race and get through there. Now let's see, I just want to reverse and do the exact same thing on the way back, basically. Like this. Okay, fine. What did I... Usually I'm able to just... What did I do differently? I turn here, I turn here, and then this should just let me walk back through normally, but it doesn't. I guess I have to... Well, now hang on. I thought I was able to just reverse sticks and do that normally. Why doesn't that work? Maybe I did something differently here from how I normally do it. Anyway, doesn't really matter. Wait, how do I reset this up? I'm having some trouble, all of a sudden, for no good reason. I just want to walk back out. No, this is not going to work, because then the active clone ends up being the one in the Wubbits column. I have never had this problem before here. Apparently I had a different way of doing this room that I always used. This happened to me in Tools of the Trade too, didn't it? Here we go. I think I did what I needed. No, that's still wrong. Can I... How did I do that? Okay, right, so I... Let's learn new clone movement techniques, since apparently my old ones were no good. So I want to do that, but over here. So I turn, and there we go. That's what I needed. Wow! That was way harder for me than it has ever been before for some reason. Whoops. And there we go. Then this guy can just be pushed through here, move on his own to kill those. And that's how you solve this. So, that's the first of the clone rooms. I'll do the other 1, 2, 3, the other 3 later, and the time clone section after that, and that'll be the... What happened here? I never killed the Ontlik. Whoops. I forgot to kill the Ontlik. I just walked right out of that room without even realizing. Okay, fine. Let's redo this room. That'll only take just a brief moment when I'm not explaining everything. Rock Golem dies. Ontlik gets pushed around just right. Oops. No, that's the wrong way. So you are Mimic number 1, and you are Mimic number 2. Okay. So why don't I just pre-position you? Can I, like... Oops. Nah, I can't do what I wanted to do easily. That's fine. Oops. There we go. Alright, so let's remember to actually kill the Ontlik. So all you do for that is just sacrifice your remaining Mimic, which is why I needed 2 of them. He blows up, Ontlik blows up. Well, Ontlik went to the water. Close enough. So that's how you actually solve that room. Sorry about that. I didn't even notice that he was still alive. Anyway, cool. So that's all of those 2 and the first clone room. So I guess I did exactly half of this level, because this had only 3 rooms. Okay, cool. So second half of the level next time, and then that'll be the end of the hold. See you then.